So it's that time again. We are going to try and update uh, our Morrowind mod setup for the new version of Tamriel Data. And as you may already know, when this happens, you need to invest some time into updating things properly, as you used to have problems while trying to keep on playing with your previous saves and mods and so on. So let's start in order with useful things to make this update properly. First thing I suggest you use is some decent orthodox file manager to compare folders and files and so on. I know nowadays most people want to use mod installers that are using virtual file systems that do not touch physical Morrowind data files directory, but I will tell you that if you want to delve into modding, you must sooner or later dirty your hands with real files, with real comparing things and deciding what you want to keep, what you want to change about the resources that the game uses. So if you want to be an advanced mod user or a mod maker, you must learn how to work with the files anyway. So my suggestion is just learn to use some tools that can make easier for you to do that. And orthodox file manager are, in short, tools that give you an easy to use interface, making operation between two different folders or directories, or call you like you want, but two different part of your computer file systems, and compare folders, compare files, decide what you want to keep, decide what you want to change, copy, move files in an easier way, because having two windows that show you all the files or all the information and that can be easily synchronized is making things much easier. So there are a lot of this kind of programs, because historically this kind of tools has always been something very useful, even before the advent of graphical user interfaces and operative systems. So there are a lot of them. Nowadays, I think a good couple ones I like to use, and I suggest you to use, are, for instance, one is called Double Commander, and it is an open source tool, so you can get it for free. And the other one, which is the one tool from that the Double Commander is trying to emulate, is called Total Commander. And this one is a shareware, so In theory, you should buy it if you use it, but you can just keep using it without registering and without paying for it. You will just have a starting nag screen when the tool starts, and but you can use it 100%. There are no hidden hidden uh, things that you cannot use. It is just that starting screen that is showing you that you have not yet registered your copy. So with these two tools, you can manage your borrowing files in an easy way. What's the difference between them? Well, the Total Commander is the original one. It is very old, very well developed, very mature. I think this is the right word. Very well developed tool. So it does a little more things, and it does them probably in a more robust way. But I can say that the Double Commander 2 is very good, and most of the time you can just use it. Specifically, the one thing that the Total Commander does still better is when you want to, after comparing the files in different folders and so on, the Total Commander is doing some operation with the files, like copy or move a part of them and so on. It does that better. But for the rest, I think the Double Commander is usually able to do what you often need to do while maintaining a Morrowind installation. So, having said that, with these two Gobble tools, we will start working with files and see what we can do with them. So, you could do the same thing just using the standard Windows file manager, opening your folders as usual, like this. But as you can see, these are really single windows, not synchronized. You can open another one like this, but it's not the same thing. You have two different windows. They are not easily synchronized. You cannot compare files from this one to this one and so on in an easy way. So I really suggest you get some orthodox file manager for this. Anyway, we will start using the Double Commander, and basically our first step will be get the Tamriel Data latest release and start working with it. So I have a couple of downloads here, but basically I have this folder where there is the Tamriel Data high definition. I suggest you use this one because the low resolution one are so low resolution that they are frankly nowadays not something you want to use anymore. So we start with this 7-zip file. As you can see, your orthodox file manager is showing you the name of the file and the all important extension, which is hidden by default in Windows, but you need it to work with files. The size of the file and so on, the date and so on. So when you have one of these file manager, usually you can just open an archive directly like this, but I really suggest you install the 7-zip program anyway, because it will be always good to be able to have options like extract and so on from your right-click on messages, and it's always good to have it installed anyway. But if you have it installed, you already have it, or you can use the Orthodox file manager to open directly the folder like this. But anyway, we want to open and extract the content of this installation archive for a very important reason. You know, people used to use install manager like the how is it called, mod manager, or Morrowind organizer, mod organizer 2, or even mesh. I used when they update some Morrowind mods, they are used to just install the new version over the old version, and sometimes this is not the proper way to update a mod release. In fact, in case of the Tamriel Data and the Tamriel Rebuild mods, or the other project Tamriel mods, this is something that you should avoid, as you risk to seriously break your previous saves and even some of your previous installed mod. So this is a very, very important concept. You should never overwrite your previous installation of Tamriel Rebuild and similar mods with the new version. Never overwrite the ESM file, never overwrite the old, to be more clear. You know, we look for the error. You should never overwrite the old t_mainland.esm. You should never overwrite the preview. You should never overwrite the Tamriel Data file when you update. So, short, don't use where is it? Tamriel Data. Oh, I must write this. Okay. Never overwrite directly this thing. I know this may seem strange for people used to use to click on mod managers to update and so on, but there are very good reasons for this. So let's try and explain why we need to do things this way. So we open our beloved mesh, mesh, which is honestly the most important tool you need to properly manage a very modest Morrowind installation. And reason is explained very well in Mesh Hub. and it is explained when talking about updating mods. Now I'm trying to remember where. Okay, let's look for updaters. Mod updating, here it is. So let's try and read what this help is explaining. Okay, to cut a long story short, mod updating, as described above, adding references to or removing references from an existing mod is likely to cause doubling. And the other cause is object index renumbering. Fixing this second problem requires that the object index numbers be remapped in the save file. This can be done in Mesh but requires several stages. First, there must be separate mod files for the original mod and the updated mod, and these mod files must have different names. So for Mesh to work its magic, you need to not overwrite the old version of your mod with the new version with the same name, because when you overwrite it, you are destroying the old mod information which is needed for Mesh to be able to fix things properly. This is the reason why you should never ever overwrite directly a new version of a Tamriel rebuild release with the new the old version of a Tamriel rebuild with the new version just released. You don't have to do that, else you are just destroying your possibility to properly update your saved games. Simple as this. It is written and explained in Mesh documentation if you want it. But in short, it is not very difficult to understand that. Sadly, this thing is never really explained in any of the so-called Morrowind guides available all around. They just tell you do as much Mesh is telling you to do, in short, and that's it. And there's also another thing that is not so clearly explained, maybe in the Mesh documentation, but the same things are not only true for your saves, but also for the previous version of mods that are using the updated masters. So you have to fix both your saves and the mods that may need to be updated properly. So that's why every time that Tamriel Data file is updated, has a new release, there's a lot of work to do to properly fix things, because we have tools that are allowing us to fix things, but it's still a process that requires great understanding and I would say a lot of time to be done properly. So that's what we will try to do. And while we are doing this, we will also try and fix problem we find, optimize things, and do several other operations with our new version of Tamriel Data and the other mods that are updated with this. So let's start with trying to fix and improve things in our downloaded Tamriel Data. So we have the high resolution version, and we can just extract from the archive in a standard folder. It will take some time because it's a very big file. So repeat the concept. Don't use your mod installing tool for this. Just extract the files on in a folder, because what I'm trying to do now is to improve this data and fix things and verify that there are no file problems, or try to improve this resources format. Because you may think that big modding teams like the one in Tamriel Rebuild and so on are doing things perfectly, but they are not usually. So let's try and see. Okay, so there are two folders like usually in mesh compatible packages, and we have the core, which you always install, and an extra file patcher which is to be used to update things, but we will see it after delving with the standard file. So we open this folder and try to look at things. So we have a docs folder, which is a standard for credits, instructions, and so on. We have a music folder that usually doesn't need a lot of work. A sound folder. And this could be something that needs some change. Sometimes the problem that you may find with the sounds used in big mods like this is that they use some tool converting things with a more modern than standard Morrowind format. For instance, some tool using 32 bits sounds instead of 16 bits sound. This usually doesn't give problem with modern computers, but if you have not such a good computer, or if you have some standard integrated sound and not a separate sound card, it is better to just use a 16-bit sound. So basically, in short, what does this mean from our point of view? Well, look for big wave files. If you find a very big file like this one, take a look at it. You must see when you open it with some wave tool, you should be able to see how many bits it is using. It must be 16 to be perfect. Also, the frequency should be 44,000, not 48, but this is giving a little less problems. Oh, by the way, I suggest you use this tool called Wave Cell if you want to edit wave files. It's a free tool that's working very well, so take a look at it. Anyway, if you find some file with 32 bits, you should convert them to 16 bits. For instance, let's open this one, but it seems they are already okay. Voices should be MP. Oh, and the same thing could be for MP3 for voices. They must have a special format which is 64 kilobytes per second, 44 kilohertz frequency, MP3. This is the standard format that is used by Morrowind, so give it a check. So let's see this big one. Oh, here it is. So this big one, as you can see, is 32 bits. This format may give problems with some integrated sound cards, so my suggestion is just to use this utility called Wave Cell or any other wave editor you may have, but this one is free and more than capable to cover our Morrowind needs. So we will convert it to 16-bit like this. For instance, bit depth converter to 16 bits, and then we save it, and we are done. So in short, look for big wave files and give them a look. If you see them in a non-standard 16-bit format, try to convert them. And the same we can do for the other folders, like this one. Oh, this is 24 bits, even more strange, so we do the same thing. Process bit depth converter, 16 bits, and save. And so on. Let me check if we can look for this kind of files. It would be nice to be able to just find them from search, but I don't think it's possible. Okay, 16. We can also just open them this way. I drag and drop them here, so it's faster to look for them. 16 bits, 16 bits, and so on. So we close the ones that are in the proper format. So this way we can verify things faster. Okay, do the same here. Voices. voices, I think. Should not have problems. Oh, this big one. Okay. So basically, I think more or less. Let's open this. 16. These are not so big, so probably they are already the proper 16-bit format. Okay. 8-bit is a little old, but could still do. Okay. So I think more or less we checked for the sound files. So I just fixed a couple of files. Specifically, let's look for things I have changed. So I will search for any file that I may have changed today. And here are the two files that I changed, the Vongal buds and the iLaid wheel, iLaid well wave files. I changed them from 32 bits format to the proper 16 bits format. So this way they should be more compatible with any integrated sound card in your computer. And then we have the packet BSA archive format containing all the rest of the data. And to check for this data, we need to unpack this special format that the Bethesda games are using. And we specifically need also to open this test-free version of this format. There are more than one tool to do this, but I suggest all in all you use the classic old tool, which is called BSA something. I don't remember, but we will find it. Just BSA pack. So we look for it and copy it in the folder where we have our BSA. To find it, let's see if we can find it on the net. So we have a BSA browser. Okay, so let's see if we can find it. I will go to the model list. In my site, I think that's a tool to search for things in the Morrowind modding history when the site search is down, which is something that happens very often. So I will look for the SA pack here. Okay. So there is also BSA browser, but I think this utility is better. Let's see if we can find. No. by Ghost Wheel, and this is the one version available, I think. So you download it if you don't have it. Let's see. Here it is. And I think it's the same file. We will compare. This is one of the nice things that you can do with a proper Orthodox file manager. You can compare two files into different folders, like this. Files. Compare by contents. And they are identical. So this is the version which I'm using. This is the one that we will use. It is still the same. So this tool is a command line tool. So you should use it from the console. But if you're using this kind of Orthodox file manager, usually you have a command just to open a console in the proper folder. So you can also do this much easily. So we go to our folder. We have already copied the BSA pack, but I show you where to download it. But anyway, this is a tool that is very useful to both extract and create BSA format compatible with Morrowind. So how can we use it? You have information on the download of the package, but in short, you just run it and give it the file you want to work with, and you add the command pack or unpack. Let's see how it works. Using these trdata.bsa and the ptdata.bsa. One thing I suggest is you work in a different folder to extract the files and then eventually edit them. So we will just go to one folder here, like this temporary folder, and copy over our tr_data.bsa. And then we copy over the BSA pack. Then we open a console, terminal, call it like you want. So as you can see, we are already in the proper folder, and we start typing our command for BSA pack. We start typing the name of the file, bs, and we can just press the tab key to complete the name of the file. Then we give our command, which is unpack. And finally, we give the name of the file we want to unpack, which is tr_data. So I start typing tr, press the tab key, and automatically I have my my file name completed. Then I press the enter, and the tool is starting the extraction of the data from the BSA file. So the end of this process, we will have data extracted to the proper folders, and we will be able to actually edit and check these files. like we already did with the sounds and music and so on. Takes a while because there are plenty of resources in this archive. But all in all, it should really not take hours. Okay, we are ready. So as you can see here, yeah, our folders. So we have book art folders, which is usually images used in books. We have icons folder, which is what you see in the menus and so on. Meshes, which are the 3D objects you see in game, and textures, which is the textures that go usually to these 3D objects. What we want to do is check these files and eventually improve them. So we start from the meshes folder. As you can see, the formats of these resources is .nif and kf and so on. What we want to do is try to fix some problems that these files may have. Typically, something that may happen is that the textures referred to inside these files are not properly saved, the texture paths, and so we will use a tool to check for this kind of problem. This tool is called if I remember it, because it's been a while. I look for executable files. Oh, nif.tx strip. Let's look for it as usual in Morrowind modding history. And as usual, as Morrowind modding history search is down, I will use my alternative search to look for NIF textures, stripper, something like this. Okay, so we'll just write NIF. NIF textures, texture stripper, here it is. Author is Era Scarecrow. It's easier to find it this way, but anyway, we try to look for the more recent version. Maybe this one is not so old and there's also a version on Nexus. Let's see it. We look for stripper. Hopefully we will not find different mods. Strip, no. It seems it's not on Nexus, but anyway, we will get it from Morrowind modding history. So we click here and we find the proper, as you can see, the search is broken, utterly broken. There will be great problems when this site definitely goes down, because there are still a lot of useful tools and old mods that are only here. So really, I suggest you download them as they are still available, because the site already is nearly not more usable, because the search is broken. You can't find anything from the site. You need to go to my pages with the search that I scraped from the data in the site, but else you have really a hard time looking and finding things. Anyway, NIF textures, author is Eva Scarecrow. Here it is. We download it and then go to our folder where we downloaded it, and here it is. So basically, this little fast tool is trying to fix all the NIF files in a folder for wrong texture paths, and it can also do some automatic conversion of the file names and so on. So how I suggest you use it is like this. I will just show you how I use it. So first I will copy the tool, which is called NIF underscore tx underscore strip.exe in the folder. Then I will copy my batch file, which is giving the commands to the tool, and this file is just a text file with the bat extension, which is the standard DOS and Windows command, and I will show you how it is made. Close all but this. No. Okay, this is the command I'm using with the NIF takes strip. I am giving the local parameter, which means that it will just scan all the folder where we are and the subfolders. And we will tell the program to replace a slash inside the file path with a backslash, because backslash is the standard used by Morrowind. And then we will tell the very important option about this parameter, no texture path. This will strip some standard texture paths when it is not needed. For instance, basically it works like this. When you have a textures inside a .nif file, you need to specify the texture underscore my folder underscore a texture name dot DDS, for instance. But if your textures is already in the textures folder, like this, you don't need this part anymore, because Morrowind by default is looking in the standard textures folder level by default. So you can just strip this part, making the file smaller, and this is what this option is doing. Oh, sorry, this is not the right one. Yeah, this. Okay, so, and this is the last parameter that I suggest you use. Bitmap to DDS. Basically, this is just replacing all extension for textures, bitmap, with DDS. Why this? Let me explain how texture loading works. Basically, you can have usually 3 different kinds of texture formats. You can have bitmap, you can have Targa, and you can have why is it doing that? DDS. This is a less efficient format. This is better, but this one is the standard used in your video card, and it is the most efficient one and the one that is most used for textures. So basically, the game and automatically try to load this one if present, then this one, and then this one. But the texture path could have any of them. They would work the same because the game would decide what to load if present automatically. So why do we want to change that from bitmap to DDS in our NIF file if the game is able to automatically load the proper one? For a simple reason that the tool that we often use to edit the NIF files is not able to do this. Typically, NIF scope is not able to show you the textures if the path here is bitmap but your resource is in DDS format. So to do things simpler, we just replace and put DDS everywhere. So Morrowind will work, but NIF scope will show you the DDS texture too, because the extension is already the most used one. And this is the reason why I use also these parameters when processing the NIF files in a mod. So this is the batch I suggest you use when you use this nice tool. And then I put the output of the tool in a file called out.txt, and then I just print it to see the result. So this is the one. And we will run this on our files, just double clicking it, the bat, like this. And the program will run in all the NIF files present in Safari. It is very fast, so here is the result. And in the out.txt file. And to look for things that the program may have changed, you just look for this a sort of arrow like this. And as you can see, one change we did is changing this path from a bitmap to a DDS for the reason that I just explained, to make things simple when using NIF scope to edit our meshes, to be able to see the texture from NIF scope and so we can look for other changes, but it should be that this kind of change. This is not something you really need to do if you never work with NIF scope or things like this, but using this tool will also fix some other problems that could be present in the texture path. I must say that usually these kind of other problems are not common in Tamriel rebuild or similar releases, because they pay attention to these kind of problems, and usually they are just not so common. But as this tool we used is super fast and is doing this automatically, why not? So this is a standard thing that I do with any new mods that I'm installing in my setup, applying this small tool with this option to fix the NIF files if they have path problems. So we did it. And so I think we are okay with our meshes. Now we want to do similar things with the textures, and to do this we will use another tool which is called Ordenador, or Textures, Checks and Compass. And this one you can find on Nexus. Probably I have in my site the link, but the one thing is that this tool, as this tool is working with other Bethesda games, you will find it on the Skyrim section probably. So probably it's easier just to go to my site and look for it there. For instance, Ordenador. Okay, I should have a link in some article here. Okay, there's also a link to the NIF texture stripper here, so maybe read also this article, because you will find explanation and links here. Anyway, we want these tools called Morrowind, Textures, Compass and Reorder, which is on Nexus mods in the Skyrim tools section. So you download this and then we run it. In my opinion, this is the best tool available to automatically fix and properly compass textures for Morrowind. Okay? And you can also set it with some standard default options. That should be, for instance, in my site. Somewhere in the download. Not sure where. Download. Drawing tools. Oh, I have also a link to the NIF texture strip here, a more recent version even. So you can just download it from here. Not sure, yeah. These options, but anyway, it's not really important because we can use the tool anyway. I will show the settings directly from the program. We can open the configuration and basically you can write your settings if you want, but the standards are already good. This is the borrowing section that I suggest to use. So you can that's documentation of the program, but basically you should tell the program to not touch this file. We don't want to change these standard files and so on. So this is the section. If you want, you can copy this in your ordenador.ini and you have the same settings that I'm using. Okay, so let's use it. We start the program, we go to the folder we want to work with, which is in this temporary folder for now. Here. And as you can see, we have our folders. So we want to work with textures, we want to work with icons, and we want to work with book art folders. These are standard folders that the game is using. What is the difference? Well, basically, these are standard textures used by your 3D object in the game, while these are special folders for icons and images used in books. What's the difference in short? The difference is these kind of images, icons and book art are never displayed out of your fixed game interface. So basically the distance at which you're looking to these graphic files is always the same, because you can see them only in your inventory or when you're opening a book. So there's no need of different size for these images when they are distant or when they are near, because they are always looked at the same distance. In short, this means they don't need the so-called mipmaps, because the size of the image is always the same. So this is the difference compared to how we will treat the standard textures in the textures folder. So I suggest you don't use a unique round for the tool, but choose you can choose a profile. I usually choose the maximum, You can choose the medium and it will do a little less optimization, but in a safer way. Anyway, I choose maximum and important, Morrowind here, and then I choose the folder. So we will start with textures. Settings are standard this way and are good. And this is the important thing that will change between textures folder and the other folder. Make MIP maps if they are not already present. This is very important because what are MIP maps? MIP maps are smaller size version of the same image stored in the file. And they are used when the detail about an image, something you see on the screen, are not needed because you are seeing, for instance, a very distant tree, so you don't need to use the full big image at a high resolution. You just need a much smaller copy of that image, which is called MIP-map. This way, the game is using less memory. You can show that distant tree faster, and much important, you don't see any flickering or so-called shimmering while moving your camera in game fast. So this is the main reason why MIP maps are important, because if you provide them in your texture, the game can work better displaying distant textures without flickering, without shimmering when you move your camera in a fast way. So it is highly suggested to always create MIP maps for this kind of textures. And so we tell our ordenador tool, or textures jack and compass, which is the English name for it, to make these MIP maps if they are not already present. And then we start. Oh, we must choose the folder, which is C, damp in my case. Here. Okay. Okay. This one, textures. And then we start it. You can enable backup, but I'm not I'm sure it will work well, so I say no. And then you see the work that the optimizations that the program is doing. And as you can see, there's a lot to be optimized in the standard Tamriel Data package, because a lot of textures are not using a compressed format in theory to get a better quality in practice. In my opinion, it is simply not worth the big size. The one exceptions could be normal images, but they are a very special case, not so often used in standard Morrowind. So, in my opinion, better to compress down. As you can see, there's a big difference in size. And at the end of the story, we will have a BSA file, which is much smaller than the original. And also, for instance, this is clearly wrong. This images was using the DXT5 format, which is a format for the textures, bigger because it is storing also the alpha information, transparency information, but that texture was not using it, so the format was not the right one. And the same thing for this DXT3 format. So this tool is optimizing any textures automatically for us, and probably this is a work that it is really worth doing with the Tamriel Data textures pack, because one thing I noticed is that they are not really very they do not pay attention to this kind of optimization, while for instance the where is it? The PT data, the project Tamriel package usually are much better in this regard. They pay attention to properly use the DDS format, to not use transparency when it is not needed, and so usually, as we will see, this is usually a better archive compared to the Tamriel Data BSA from the texture packaging point of view. Anyway, our tool has almost finished its working. As you can see, we can really gain a lot of size because we are nearly 300 megabytes of free space compared to the original. So, it's not bad. Because this is, in practice, this is memory you don't use anymore in your graphic card and in your system memory, because usually the memory used for graphic is also doubled in standard memory and so on. So it's not only loading faster, it is probably also using less memory. Anyway, finished. We have a log. If you want, we can open it. Where you can see all the changes done to the textures. So all this I have a feeling this well, without meep maps, because they are used as icons, which is not a standard way of packaging things, but anyway, this is a problem with how the files are used, because if they are icons, they should be here in this folder. Anyway, let's go with our tool. This times we will process the other two folders. What is the difference? Difference is that we don't need MIP maps in this kind of folders. So difference is just that we change here to remove MIP maps if they are present, because we don't need MIP maps for this kind of icons files and book art files. So we start it in the proper folder. And as usual, the program will try and optimize things. Naturally, we gain less space because we have fewer textures here, but you get the idea. And we do the same for the icons folder. Remove the MIP maps here. So yeah, we have very small files, but many of them. I must say one thing: all these optimizations step is not really needed to properly update your saves and your ESP and so on. But as I'm updating, I prefer to also optimize things. I'm just showing you how to use available tools to do it and how I like to use them. But it's not really something needed to properly keep on playing your previous saves. It is just something that I like to do as we are working to do a big update to our Morrowind installation. And as you can see, many small icon files in these folders. Okay, so we did it. Now the file should be optimized, and we want to recreate a new version of this Tamriel Data.bsa that will be hopefully smaller than the original. And to do this, well, let's do this. I will just rename the original one in the package here, like this, for instance, and we'll create a new one here. So how can we do this? more or less like we did to extract things. We will do the reverse operation, we will create a new one. So for instance, we copy the name of the file we want to recreate here, like this, Ctrl C. Then we can delete this one because we are recreating it, and then we use the BSA pack. Like before, we start a terminal, then we write BSA, press the tab key, space, the command is pack, and then the name of the file we want to create, which is Ctrl V. I will paste the name, tr_data.bs. So we make a new one with the same old name, but this time we will pack our updated folders present here. So I will press enter, and the program is adding back. As you can see, it's much faster packing than extracting. And we have our new Tamriel data.bsa, and as you can see, that's a big size difference. We have 662 megabytes compared to the original 967. So it's a big reduction. And we move this file to the original folder like this. So this is the original, a big one, and this is our new version that we optimized using this tool. We will do the same thing for PT data. What I expect is there will be less gain because usually these data are better optimized. But let's do it. So first I will delete this, which I don't need anymore. I will copy the PT data in our work folder, and I suggest you use as work folder one temporary folder in your faster hard disk drive for obvious reasons, because it will be faster. And then we can do the same. We open a common terminal console, we start the BSA pack, BSA tab key space unpack, and the name of our file, which is PT. I press the tab key, PT data, and I press enter key, and we are extracting as usual the contents of the archive, of the BSA archive. This archive is much bigger than the TR data one, because this is the common archive used by also the other Tamriel projects. So it is used both by Skyrim Home of the Nodes and Project Zero Deal, and also Tamriel Rebuild. Okay, we are done. And we do the same thing. First we go to the meshes folder and we copy our nifty tx strip executable to optimize the meshes texture paths, and also this batch file to do it with the standard command. I will open it again just to show you again how it is done. This is the command local / no textures path bmp to dds. Oh, also this parameter target to dds also could be used. So basically, to make this, you just make a text files with any text editor, and then you save it as a .bat. So you can double click it and it will start. So we are processing the NIF files in for this folder and subfolders. It will take a while because this is a very big data package. But all in all, it should be a matter of a couple minutes, because this is one of the fastest tools available for Morrowind. So as usual, to see some change, we can look for a sort of arrow like this. And as you can see, change from bitmap to DDS and so on. Nothing really needed, but something that is good to have to edit things more easily from NIF scope, or to spare some unneeded space, because this textures prefix is not needed for the game to use the texture because it is something used by default, and so on. Again, this is not really needed, but as we are here, we want to optimize things as much as we can. So this is done, we don't need any more of these. And now we have done the meshes folder. We start our ordenador, or also called textures check and compress, and we do the same messages for our textures folders and book art folders and icons folder. We can start from icons, for instance, and we know that icons do not need mip maps because they are something in the user interface, so you always look at them at the same distance, and so we don't need mip maps and we remove them. So as you can see, icons can be optimized even in the PC data, oh sorry, PT data, in the PT data package. Mostly I think because they are using not super optimized formats. Again, this is not strictly needed, but we try to optimize things as we are doing the big work of updating things for the new version of Tamriel Data. And also I think it is always interesting to see how these various tools available for modding Morrowind can be used. Because if you want to package a mod or edit a mod, you will have to do similar works to properly package a mod. There are tons of icons in this package. Okay, as usual, we can take a look at the log files here. So, yeah, using these options, and you can see the changes. And then we do the same things. We did it for the icons folder. We do it for the book art folder now. Here. And the settings are the same. We want to remove the MIP maps if present. And there are not many. And finally, we want to process the all-important textures folder, but this time we pay attention. So, textures folders here, we pay attention to select the make if not MIP maps, because we need the MIP maps in the standard textures folders, because these textures are to be displayed on 3D objects in game. So if we have a distant rock, a distant tree, we want to use MIP maps for that. And so we start this kind of process, adding also MIP maps. And usually these pt-data.bsa is much better from this point of view than Tamriel Data, because usually textures are already compressed in a proper way. For instance, here we have this reflection textures. Honestly, it was compressed with a very big special format, which is keeping all the image information, and it is 64 kilobyte compared to our compressed version. I don't know. I think this kind of detail for a reflection textures is not really needed. So I think compressing it is the proper way. Same thing for other reflection. The one case where using a more detailed format like this one could be proper, I think, is with normal textures, something with underscore n suffix, because in that case the normals are something that if you don't compress them, usually they look better. But we are talking about Morrowind, a game where normals are not really, in the standard Morrowind, not really something you notice a lot. But and honestly, I'm not sure about detailed textures, glow textures, and reflection textures about the MIP maps. I've seen oftentimes people don't use MIP maps with this kind of textures. In my opinion, better safe than sorry, as I hate the shimmering and effect that you can notice in game when you move your point of view, you move your camera fast. It is something that you can notice a lot if you don't have MIP maps. So all in all, I prefer to add MIP maps even in the few cases that maybe they are not so useful or visible, because really it is something that I don't like. I mean, some shimmering effect. But as you can see, all in all, the changes that the tool is doing to this ptdata.bsa are much less frequent than the changes done with the previous Tamriel data TR data. So I think whoever is doing the packaging of the project Tamriel data BSA is doing a better work, all in all. Not a perfect work, as you can see here, because we have several DXT3 format useful textures that don't have alpha at all, but these are things that you cannot really do properly for thousands and thousands and thousands textures if you don't use some automatic tool to do it, because you know you may be the best Photoshop user in the world, but when you work with thousands and thousands of textures, you forget to apply the proper format sooner or later for one of these textures. So I really think that automatic tools like this one are a must when you must package such big numbers of texture resources and so on. But you know, everybody feels and do things differently. So I'm just showing you how I prefer to do things and what tools you can use to do this kind of changes in Morrowind. There are different tools also that more or less do the same things. Many of them are available, done specifically for Skyrim, but you can use them also with Morrowind. But all in all, I think this one, the Ordenador, also called Optimizer Textures, is the best one. Because it's a good compromise between being simple enough to use and powerful. So get this one if you want to optimize your Morrowind textures. Oh, and one thing that may happen is the program is sometimes not able to read or process one specific texture. Usually this is a sign that the texture has not the proper format. Oftentimes it happens with textures done using tools like the GIMP program, because that program, if not used with the proper output format, tend to make this invalid textures format. In this case, what you should do is just try to open that image with a different editor like paint.net or even this one, which is usually view, which is usually able to open this kind of images and resave them as DDS or another standard Morrowind format. This way you can then process correctly with the Ordenador. But it is not something that happens very often, especially with such big packages done by big projects like Tamriel Rebuild and Project Tamriel and so on. But every now and then you find these buggy textures, and in this case you just open them with the texture editor and try to fix them. Usually just a matter of being able to load them and resave them as proper format like DDS or Targa or bitmap. Okay, we did it, and as you can see we have 28 megabytes gain, which compared to the super big size of the data is not so much as the previous gain we had with the Tamriel Rebuild one. But anyway, we did it. We can close the program and we can do the same thing. We go to the original archive. We rename this one PT data. Oh, first we copy the name, Ctrl C, so I can use it without writing, because I hate to write things when I can avoid it. We rename this like this, and then we move it just to have it for comparison, or if for some reason we need to get the original, we still have it there. Okay, and then we recreate the pt_data.bsa here with the bsa pack program. As usual, we start a console, run terminal, start typing the name of the program, bsa, press the tab key because we are lazy, press space. This time we write the pack command, and then we paste Ctrl V the name of our destination archive that we want to recreate, and then we press the enter key, and the tool will pack the folders to the proper pt_data.bsa, which will be much bigger than the Tamriel Data ones, but hopefully a little smaller than the original PT data. Okay, so we move it here. Right. I don't think we need this folder or this tool anymore. So we can just delete from this temporary folder. So basically what we did is try to optimize the two big resource archives coming with the Tamriel data. Which are now smaller than before. Not so much the PT data, but as you can see, the TR data is really smaller. So this is a no optimization, because we have a smaller package. It will be faster and it will probably look better also. So this is the one I will use to update my my installation. And I think I will stop here, because we did the optimization and fixes part for the resources, and next time we will go on with the proper way to update and fix the ESP and ESM files to hopefully be able to go on with our previous saves properly after updating all the mods involved in this big change. So thanks for watching, and for now, see you next time.